welcome to our lucky episode 13 of Rapid Reviews Radio. I am your co-host, Kiley Wild, and I'm joined with Pete Beckett. How are
Hello.
you? So how are you?
I'm doing well, but the episode number has now made me think of that terrible game 13.
I liked that game.
I hated it.
Really?
Yeah, it's got a remaster coming this year, and I don't know why it got remastered. Oh,
really? Ah, now that'll be fun.
Yeah, I tried to play it about 4 different times because it was cheap on every console.
Yeah,
but
yes, it was. It was.
No, I just couldn't get into it at all. I like the art style; it's really cool.
It's
but
really cool.
No.
I love puzzle games. And
yeah.
And actually, we were talking earlier off air about like the old Flash games and stuff like that.
That was a good one.
Just now remembered, just this second, my absolute favorite is escape room games.
They're good.
I loved those. I love those so much.
Yeah, we were talking about some of the stuff that you used to see on Newgrounds.
Oh yes, the good old days.
Yeah, where Flash animations were the best.
They were the best worst.
Yeah, I could recommend so many, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, we'll
Some
save that.
They're quite outdated now.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll save that for our Flash episode.
Oh yeah, definitely. We should definitely do like a deep dive
to
some of the stuff that we used to see like years and years ago in the early days of the internet.
Yeah, because you forget how it was. Ugh. Yeah.
It was a mess. Wait, it still is.
It still is, but we've come so far. Which actually will come in line with our topic later on, so that's funny. But
yeah, we've come so far.
Yeah.
I was going to make a really bad joke there, but I don't think.
Were you going to do a Linkin Park joke?
Yep. I got the lyrics wrong, so therefore I.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
Oh gosh. And there we are. That's our Linkin Park podcast.
There you
for
go.
Next week.
Yep. So we're back to 2 with this episode.
Yeah.
Although we very much enjoy our guests.
We do, and you'll be happy to know that Jen did not block me after last week's episode, which was quite nice.
That is excellent to find out.
Yeah.
I do hope we can have her back, and then you'll be joining theirs.
Yeah.
In a kind of exchange program.
Yeah. So my talents are being lent to them for a week. They'll be recorded on the 19th of January, so next Sunday. I've got one heck of a day next week where it's this edit and then that in the evening.
Oh, and then we'll be sure to hype it up so that everyone will catch it.
Of course, but what we mentioned obviously is that they're a bit more not safe for work.
Yes, we should probably re-mention that. Yes.
You will definitely hear me a lot less unfiltered.
Yes. Yeah, Pete Unfiltered.
Yeah, after hours.
After hours, that's it.
Yeah. But yeah, it might get a little bit rude, but dear. I listened to their recent episode and it was just Jen and Cold Death, and it was those two because they're both German. They both know each other really well, and my God, like so many swears.
Too funny.
It was a very good episode that I listened to though. It was very interesting because they were talking about licensed games, so games that are used as advertisement for their products.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Oh goodness, yeah. And then
it was really interesting.
That is, I like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to.
There is a game that they didn't mention that I should have mentioned to Jen afterwards. Was did you remember that game that was on 360? It was free for a while. Doritos Crash Course.
Wait, say that again. You popped out.
Sorry, Doritos Crash Course.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That was actually surprisingly fun.
Yeah, it was. That was like one of the first ones available for like download or something. It was early days. And,
yeah, it was. And it was when the avatars came out. I think it was
maybe that's it. Yeah.
Funnily enough, when I was looking through my Xbox One stuff and things that I could re-download, like Crazy Taxi,
Right? Oh, yes.
Doritos Crash Course 2 came up, and I was like, should I re-download this? Nah.
I think I also had something like the Toyota Yaris.
Oh, yeah, they mentioned the Toyota Yaris game.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Oh my goodness.
I was happy to get my hands on anything at that time.
Yeah, me too. That's why I played Crash Course.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's enough for the roundup of the caffeinated banter card.
Yes, because you've joined us here on Rapid Reviews Radio. I should probably mention that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So how about the news this week?
Some good news stories this week. Some very interesting ones, let's just say. So this news story has been doing the rounds for the last couple of days, actually, and it's no real surprise to hear it. But Emily Rogers on Twitter, she is very well known for getting a few predictions fairly right.
Right.
She's got a bit of insider knowledge for certain places after many years of work in the games industry.
Right.
She has stated on Twitter that there are potentially 2 unannounced Wii U ports that are due to come to the Switch this year.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
Yeah, and she prefaced this by saying one of them is not Wonderful 101.
Right. Okay.
Because, there's a bit of an issue with Platinum Games on that, where they can't seem to find a publisher to actually want to distribute the game again, because it was not a very good seller, unfortunately, on the Wii U.
Yeah. And there wasn't much that was.
No, there wasn't, but this one was a particularly bad one.
Right.
It was very well regarded in terms of reviews and player base, but it just did not sell at all, which was a very strange thing for a Platinum Games game.
Yeah.
That sounds very strange to say, Platinum Games game.
So, any theories on what it could be?
I have one absolute certainty of what I think is going to be there, and that is Mario 3D World.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's one of the very few games that most people have said this needs to be ported again. I mean, we've already had New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which, in the grand scheme of things, was not as well regarded as 3D World was, but it's still got a port, which was quite nice, to be fair.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
3D World is the one that everyone's been waiting for, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I would like to see that. I'd also like to see the Lego game.
Lego City Undercover?
Yeah, that one.
It's already there.
Is it there?
It was one of the very early Switch games that came out.
Shows how much I pay attention to the story.
No, it was a little bit underappreciated, I think, because apparently it was a very good game, I just never got around to it.
No, it was a good game if you like the Lego style games, which I do.
Yeah, I do as well, and I heard that the story was quite good in it.
It is. The only thing, which was just a drawback of Wii U anyway, is the loading times. They were,
of course,
ridiculously long. But I mean, outside of that, but it was a great game. It was.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I'll have a look and see how much it is on the Switch and see whether or not it would be it. I'm sure it's probably been on a few sales over the years.
Probably. I really need to pay more attention. But I mean,
that would require you to actually turn your Switch on at some point.
I was gonna say, I've looked at it. It's sitting right by the door to my office. So every time I leave my office, I look at it and think, I need to pick that up. And then I come back and I go, I need to pick that up.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
so,
yeah.
I don't know about the other game. Have you got any theory, any ideas?
I don't really, because the Wii U library was so small comparatively.
Yeah, it was.
And basically everything, from what I can tell, is Nintendo has ported a lot of their own properties.
They have. And to be fair, third-party support wasn't a big thing on the Wii U.
Right.
Apart from,
exactly.
I think, what was it? Arkham City Armored Edition and a couple of other games. There wasn't a major amount of third-party support at all.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 3.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Ah, those heady days.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me because I feel like the ports I cared about are there.
Yeah, I mean, we've already had ports, like I said, for New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
Exactly.
We've had Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. We won't get Smash Brothers because Smash Brothers Ultimate was essentially a palette swap, kind of.
Yeah.
They used the assets there for Ultimate.
What was the Sonic that came out on the Wii U?
Sonic Lost World.
Yeah, I wonder if it's that. It was bad.
I highly doubt it. Apparently, it's quite regarded, that game. It's probably one of the better 3D Sonic games.
See, that's what I seem to run into is I will play a Sonic game, one of the modern Sonic games. You know, off of the platformers, the 2D platformers. And I will think it's the worst game I've ever played. And then I'll go and read. I'll read the forums and everyone's like, no, this is the best one. What? This is so great and wonderful and everything. I'm like, really? Oh, crap.
But to be honest with you, these people rave about Sonic Adventure like one of the greatest games in the world. And wow.
No.
Like, it's got great music. Incredible soundtrack.
Yeah, but to be fair...
Visuals hasn't held up.
Yeah, no. But I think we've mentioned before, Sonic tends to have a very good... always has a good soundtrack.
They always
Most
do.
of the time, yeah.
I mean, everyone always... CD is having an amazing... And it does. But only if you live in certain areas of the world.
Yes. Now that is funny. We probably should one day talk about... Well, we are. We're going to talk about that in the future. I forgot.
Yeah.
So
we are, for sure.
Quickly moving on.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to put some theories out there of what I think may be, because we had a bit of a discussion between some of the writers on Discord yesterday about this. There are a few ones that are still sitting there that are pretty much ready to go, I think, but they're to the point where maybe they haven't got a deluxe version or anything like that coming out. Maybe it's just a straight port. So one of them was Pikmin 3.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course.
The only thing about that one that gives me issue as to why I don't think it could make it is because a lot of that game was centered around touchscreen controls and the second screen aspect, which I'm not sure how they can emulate that well when you're playing in TV.
That makes sense.
Whereas, if it's in handheld mode, then fine. You've got the touchscreen there that you can do a lot of stuff with.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how it's going to work with TV mode.
Yeah, because if we're talking straight port, I think you're exactly on the money. I mean, it is a strong title. It's got a huge community behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yes, but then at the same time, you're absolutely correct. It does rely on the, touchscreen and, Yeah. So,
Okay, so I've got two others here that I've theorized potentials, and I'm not sure about them because, well, they are great games, fantastic games, in fact. But they didn't really do much in terms of when they brought them over. It was just a HD polish.
Right.
Twilight Princess HD.
Oh, right. Right.
And Wind Waker HD.
I love Wind Waker.
Yeah, I want Wind Waker. I actually do.
Yeah.
By the time that had come out on the Wii U, my Wii U had broke. So
right.
I didn't get the chance to play it.
Oh, it's got the best soundtrack.
I love it. I played it on the GameCube, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
See what it was like when they HD'd it and made some of the sailing mechanics a little bit more streamlined and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Oh,
so I'm kind of hoping it is Wind Waker.
I would like to see it be Wind Waker. I would be very pleased with that. Absolutely.
But the only issue I have with that is, do they really want to bring out a HD remaster of a game series that could potentially have Breath of the Wild 2 out this year?
Ooh. Well, that could work two ways. It could be an over inundation of too much, but it could also be a good, if they release it in the early part of the year, the first quarter or second quarter even.
Yep.
And then release Breath of the Wild 2 in the last quarter. It could be a good setup as far as kind of getting interest started back up again. Yeah.
I'd agree. I mean, to say that it would be a problem to have both those games out in 1 year would be a little bit stupid, considering that Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2 released 3 years apart, and yet they had a couple of spin-off games in that time as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I could also say the same thing about 3D World, because it's potential that Mario Odyssey 2 could also be on the verge as well, which we don't know about, obviously. Because it seems a little bit strange that Mario Odyssey has not had any DLC.
Yeah. I find that strange about a few games that are out that have given me pause. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the similar situation to what they had between Galaxy 1 and 2. They had so many ideas that they just went, we could just make a full sequel out of this, rather than actually, just sticking with some DLC routes or an expansion pass of any sort of respect. So, I don't know. It's a weird one. There's a few options there, and I'm probably forgetting about a few different games in that respect. But I think those are probably the more likely 4 options.
Right.
Especially if you got Pikmin 4 potentially.
Yeah.
But that game's apparently been finished for the last 5 years.
That is what that's what everyone says. It's weird.
Yeah, even Miyamoto said it.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's one of those cases of they've worked on it so long that the technology has changed, because
I think so.
Yeah, that happened. That's what happened with the Duke Nukem.
It's so many changes in the technology that had to basically reboot the whole or
every time. Exactly.
It happened with I'm trying to remember the name. Oh, the Last Guardian.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's very true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah.
I think even Team Eco forgot about that too.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Right, I've got one more game that I'm going to add on.
Okay.
Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. Moving on.
Oh my gosh, I think that's it.
No, it's not.
You don't think so?
That game was hated.
I don't know. My intuition is my spider sense is tingling.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a joke, not to actually make you think properly about it.
Yeah, but I think you might have hit on something.
Do you really think that the Animal Crossing fans are going to want to play Amiibo Festival before a New Horizon comes out?
No, but I bet they could do some kind of marketing ploy with it, is what I'm thinking. That's the point of view I'm looking at it from.
Oh, what? Like buy the special edition of Animal Crossing New Horizons to get a free copy of the Amiibo Festival?
Yep, something along those lines.
Oh dear.
I think you
might have... This is not cool. This is not good.
I think you might have stumbled onto something.
Oh my god! If it was actually the case, oh dear.
We'll have to watch this. I want to see where they take this.
Watch this space.
Because I think here's the bottom line. Wii U ports would benefit Nintendo as marketing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
More than...
Yeah, because they've barely got to spend any money on them, really, have they?
Exactly.
Give it to a company like Panic Button, who just ports the game over quite easily and just adds a couple of new things. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
so in my mind, but I mean, again, always remember, listeners, that I run a business, so I see it from that point of view.
Yeah.
So looking at it from that point of view, as opposed to a player, that's a marketing opportunity.
It kind of is, and that's exactly why I'm thinking the same with Zelda or Mario as well.
Yes.
It fits into the aspect of there are two potential games that could be coming either this year or next year, and it's a way of keeping them interested until those games come out.
Exactly. That's it exactly.
Who doesn't want to play Wind Waker again?
Oh, I do.
For the 14,000th time.
I've got the do in my head right now, so
I always love playing on pirate ship stage on Smash Brothers because of that reason, because it's so colourful and nice.
It is. So good.
Anyway, we will move on to the next news story, because if you were living under a rock this week, then you wouldn't know about the Pokemon Direct and how much issue that caused with people.
Oh, goodness.
I'm not going to call them out by name, but there were a couple of writers on our side who were very angry about it.
Yes.
And then when they saw it, weren't very angry again. Weren't very angry. They're actually pretty positive, which was very weird.
Yes. But that's how it usually goes.
A lot of the internet was quite surprised that they announced a Pokemon Direct before a main Nintendo Direct.
Yes.
But they have reasons.
Yeah.
They didn't just go, by the way, screw Dexit. Dexit is not happening now, and we've added these Pokemon in. No, they haven't. They haven't at all. So they announced Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Remake for the Switch, which is due to come out in March.
Yeah.
A lot of focus on the Direct itself was the 2 new expansion passes that are coming to Pokemon Sword and Shield this year.
Yes, which I'm quite interested in.
I'm glad you are, because I am not.
Interested, maybe curious is really what I mean. I'm curious.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, for £27 for 2 passes, so the first expansion is called the Island of Armor, which comes out in June, and then we got the Crown. I don't know whether it's Thundra or Tundra, because I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
I think it's the Crown Tundra, to be fair, which is coming out. They didn't give an exact release date, but it's fall of 2020. So there are some very interesting aspects about this, and let me just say that you shouldn't try and watch this whilst you're working.
That's an interesting way to present that.
Yeah, the live stream wasn't exactly brilliant.
Yeah.
It kept cutting out for a lot of people. They apparently missed something at the end of it because they cut it off a little bit too early.
Oh, dear.
And there was a bit of technical problems with it, which, well, if you know anything about Nintendo, they don't actually know what technology is. So. But, I mean, they've at least gotten on board with DLCs.
Yeah. Huh.
And this is kind of what's annoyed a lot of people, is that they're talking about these 2 passes as being essentially the third game that they would usually release along in the line. So unless it's last generation where they had 4 games, because it was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which I didn't really understand that.
Yeah.
It's the only It's the only game in the series I don't actually own, because I refuse to buy it.
Yeah. It started getting very money grubby.
Yeah. well, I mean, you always look at the Pokemon series and you always see that third option. It's always supposed to be like the definitive version of the game. Yes. I always looked at it and I went, I always preferred Pokemon Red and Blue over Yellow, because I didn't like the fact that you just got given Pikachu at the beginning in Yellow. Right. Yeah. I don't know. Pikachu's cool and everything, but I always preferred a Charmander or a Squirtle.
Yes. Always Squirtle. But yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, they've got a lot coming to these, which is nice to see. But essentially what they've done with this is exactly what people surmised when they announced the Wildland, or the Wild Area for Sword and Shield, was the fact that these whole islands that they're adding to the game are basically exactly the same as what it is in the Wild Area, where it's free roaming camera. So that's quite cool. That was the aspect of it which I really liked, is the fact that it's just an open world area. And you get the free control of the camera. It looks like that Sword and Shield are basically a tech demo for that, in a sense, and that's the way that they're going to go with the 9th generation, where it's going to be completely integrated into the game with 3D camera movements, not just in one area of the game. Right. But they're adding 200 Pokemon.
Yeah, which I wonder if that's a response to...
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry to shut you down so quickly there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I absolutely do think it is, because they're adding loads of legendaries to this game as well.
Right.
Or to the 2 expansions, including Galarian forms of which have been shown in the videos of Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos.
Yes, I saw the Galarian Zapdos, and I actually saw that completely independent before the Pokemon Direct, and I was like, what, what is this? What are they doing?
Yeah.
And now it makes sense.
Yeah. But I have to say, they did, one of the cool things that they did is they actually added one new Pokemon to the game right now.
Oh?
Slowpoke. Galarian Slowpoke.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until afterwards, and someone said, "Oh, you can actually get Slowpoke in the game now."
Oh,
what?
Goodness. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, but they are adding a few new Pokemon that haven't been seen, of course. So they're adding some new legendaries that are exclusive to these passes. One of the things that I found quite interesting is they've clearly heard that people don't want to spend money.
Yes.
They are actually allowing these Pokemon to be traded through Pokemon Home or through the trading system, even if you don't have the pass or the passes.
Oh, now that's good.
Option. So if you don't want to have to spend the money, you are still able to at least get a full Pokedex.
Oh, now see, I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
That makes it a little bit easier to take.
Yeah, the one thing that did annoy a few people or caused a bit of confusion was the fact that these 2 passes are very weird in the fact that you get them both in a package for £27 or about $30, I think it is. But they're exclusive versions, basically. So if you own both versions of the game, you have to spend double.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
Oh, I don't like that. Yeah.
No, so you're essentially spending $60 on these 2 passes across both versions of the game, and I don't know why anyone would do that.
Yeah, that seems that's too much. That's a step too far, in my opinion. Yeah. Absolutely.
Agreed, but to preface this, they did say that there were version exclusive Pokemon either side.
Well, oh god. See
again, they're doing it. Yeah.
Yep. Ugh. Well.
I love. Look, I'm not going to say that I don't love Satoru Iwata for what he has done for Nintendo and games generally over the years, but it was his idea to split to 2 games. Yeah. Originally, and that's the worst thing that they have ever done.
They've said that since the first time it happened. It's always been a point of contention. So
I don't like it. I understand why they did it for the whole trading aspect, but I don't understand why locking off Pokemon to a certain version is still a thing. Like, I think they should just go, okay, both games are the same. They're both identical. Either cut one version of the game and stop crossing development basically on that. Right. Or just choose whichever one you want. Both packages are exactly the same. It's up to you. Yep. You know?
Absolutely.
I think the island specific or the specific gym bosses was a nice idea. You get one that's different. So I think Sword was the fighting gym, I believe it was. Right. B, I think it was the fighting gym leader, and then it was a ghost type in Shield. Right. Which is cool. I have no preference for that. I think that's a nice idea at least. But I think the 2 versions thing is a bit outdated now, and it's probably something they shouldn't be doing anymore.
I'm going to agree with you on that for sure. Absolutely.
That might annoy a lot of Pokemon fans.
Yeah. Not hard to do, as we know.
Yeah, because the memes have been coming out again about this, and regardless of the fact that they're going to be adding 200 new Pokemon still. Yes. They are still very upset again. Oh. They can't. I'm sorry, but Game Freak can't catch a break on this one at all. The whole Dexit thing has clearly left a sour taste in everyone's mouths. And I don't get it. They are. I'll put this on record. I'll say this now. Stop acting like entitled babies and get on with it, for goodness sake.
Absolutely.
Like, have your criticisms, make them known, but the way you are acting is really self-entitled.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't owe you anything. They are the ones who create this game. If they decide not to make another game, will you be happy? No.
Right.
So shut up.
Yes, exactly. Vote with your wallet, as they say.
Exactly. There's a big difference between actively vocal criticism and just being an idiot.
Oh, God. Just, the word you guys use over here is perfect. Whinging.
Yeah, we do tend to whinge a lot.
Yeah, I like that word. We don't have an equivalent. I mean, I guess we could say whining in the US, but even whinging is almost more. It encompasses more.
Yeah, I've seen that Joe Merrick on Twitter, who is also the guy who runs Cerebi.net.
Right.
He's been getting a lot of backlash on Twitter because he's actually actively come out and said, I support this. I think this is a good idea. I like the DLCs. And he's been getting a lot of flack, despite the fact of how much that he has done for the community. I mean, Cerebi.net is like the hub for all things Pokemon.
Right.
Yeah, even he is not away from backlash.
Yeah. No,
how does that work?
That's,
This isn't his job. He does it for fun.
Yeah. People forget that. I think they forget that a lot. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying about self-entitled babies who think they own it. They don't own it. Just give it a rest, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
It does annoy me. I like the gaming community because we are very vocal, we are very active, and we are usually on the cutting edge of changing things.
Yeah.
Just look at how the community reacted to this whole Battlefront 2 situation a few years ago, and how we got an active change out of EA.
Yes.
EA!
Yeah.
We'd start getting blood from a stone with them. But yet, we managed to change that entire game because we were so active in a positive way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
that's
this is not positive.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just negative for the sake of negative.
Yes.
And I don't understand it. I don't really understand some people's thinking sometimes.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Yeah. But we'll move away from controversy now.
Yes.
To more controversy.
I was going to say, and we'll go right back into it, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you know much about CES.
Well, I do personally, but probably do a little quick review for the listeners.
So CES is the Computer Entertainment Showcase, I think it is. Or what
showcase,
it stands
yes.
Yeah. I'd actually surprised I remembered that.
That's pretty good, actually.
So it's essentially a tech giants thing at the beginning of the year, where they pretty much outline their plans for the entire. We had companies like AMD and Nvidia there, and they are showing off new graphics cards, all that sort of thing. You've got some big tech giants there like Sony, who unveil TVs that the common man will never ever be able to afford.
Yes.
Like their $90,000 TV that they'd announced one year, which was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's also a chance for people to throw out the craziest ideas that are never going to be made.
Yeah, they're essentially like say you would see a car manufacturer release a show off a car that they go, this is a concept car.
Yes.
That's never ever going to be out generally in the public. It's basically showing their next line of technology in there.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what we could potentially be doing in 5 years' time if the technology stays like this.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it rarely ever comes to pass.
No.
In fact, I think CES was, and this was like a decade ago, was the first place they unveiled the TVs that were so thin and would curve. Which now we're finally starting to get them. We're getting those, but they've now taken that technology and then started doing the monitors that you can fold And that was like 5 years ago, which was a complete disaster.
Yeah, of course it was.
But now they've released a laptop that is just an entire screen that just folds. It's a good idea, and I love innovation. I don't know that that's going to come to pass the way everyone wants it to.
Just look at Samsung and their folding phone.
Exactly.
That
was an absolute disaster. I kind of liken it to like in the late 60s, early 70s, a lot of the sci-fi stuff was video phones, which would be like a regular landline telephone that also was, had video, two-way video.
Yeah, it just had like a video screen come out of the handset.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, here we are, I don't know how many years later. What is that, 50 years?
50 odd years. Nearly 60 years.
Yeah, and that was seen as the future of tech. And now we have phones, handheld phones, mobile phones. And, of course, they've got, cameras and stuff. So what they picture originally, it eventually comes to pass, but it's in a different form, I guess is what I'm saying. So
well, technology evolves over the years, doesn't it?
But
that concept is not exactly going to be true to what they envisioned.
Exactly. Because they've been trying to make foldable and malleable screens. I'm telling you, definitely for at least 10 years, if not more.
Yeah. Minimum 10 years. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes like 20 odd years.
And when it does come out, it'll be something very different then. That's my theory anyway. But
of course,
all that to say, I love CES.
CES is quite good because we see a lot of really interesting tech come out of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you got Sony.
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself but say that because my goodness, this caused a storm on Twitter, which was hilarious.
It was very good. Very good.
So Sony puts out on Twitter that we should be watching CES for a reason.
Right.
Only to show off the logo for the PlayStation 5. The logo!
Yeah.
That is essentially the PS4 logo. And they've literally gone, all right, let's go into Photoshop, take the 4 out, put the 5 in. They haven't done anything new.
Nope. It is
I suppose they don't need to.
They don't. Honestly, they don't need to. But to make that much fanfare, you have to wonder if that was a troll. You have to wonder.
I think it was.
I do too. I want to believe it is.
I hope it was. Because otherwise I'm going to be really disappointed in Sony.
I wonder if they didn't go with PSV because of the PSVR. I kind of wonder that.
I'm agreeing here. Yeah. I think that would have only made things a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
Also because they haven't Roman numeraled all their other consoles either.
Yeah. Which is true. I mean, that is true. And there is one thing that you learn, like when you take business courses and stuff, that when it comes to logos and branding, simple works. The simpler, the better. My own personal logo for my business is just black and white, and very stylized and simple.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so in a way, I get it. Yes.
Yeah, so do I. They're onto a winner, really, because they've got record brands that everyone knows about, and the PS4 was a huge seller along with like the PS2 and the PS1.
Absolutely.
And even the PS3.
Well, even
they don't really need to change too much, really.
Exactly. They all charted.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as selling.
I mean, you just look at the PS3. Mm-hmm. The PS3, when it was originally launched, had a completely different way of doing things. Like, yes, the PlayStation logo itself, that odd P with the S in the background. Yeah. Which I didn't actually know was an S before, like for many, many years, which is really bad of me to know.
Well, I thought it was genius.
Yeah. So, but they changed all the local like the lettering for that to make it more like Sony's like just a Sony branding sort of thing.
Wasn't it, now correct me if I'm wrong.
Spider-Man font.
I was going to say, wasn't it Spider-Man font?
It was the Spider-Man font.
Yeah, which I only put together, I don't know, not that long ago, a couple months ago, when I saw the Spider-Man logo come up on something, the old one from that,
Spider-Man
way
1,
back.
2, and 3.
Yeah, and then I was like, why does that look like the PlayStation 3 font? Then I went, oh, they're both owned by Sony.
Yeah. But then, did you notice that a couple of years later, when they rebranded or redesigned the PlayStation 3, they changed that, and they changed it to what it is now?
Yes, that's correct.
Which is just PS3 rather than the full PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Because I've actually got them here. I've got a couple of boxes for PlayStation 3 games that are like old ones, like Fallout 3, that have got the old branding on it.
Yeah.
And they look... I'm going to pick one up compared to, like, say, Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2 have got two different kinds of logo in on them.
Right.
So they changed the logo in from the Sony font on the side of the cases to the top.
Yes.
So they moved the whole thing around, and it was very weird, but
yeah,
it seemed to have worked for them, of course.
Yeah,
because,
I mean,
you know, they've stuck with that branding, that logo in, and it's just, you know,
it. I don't mean this as a pun, but it's iconic.
It really is,
and I think it's recognizable.
Agreed.
You know, for a logo, it's good. It's okay. But
it's just the way that someone clearly went in and just did 5 minutes work on Photoshop,
and then to make such a build up for it, you know.
And it was. The funny thing is that even before this CES announcement, is that people had already basically mocked it up themselves and gone, "This is what the PS5 is going to look like logo wise," and it is exactly what the mock up was.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay. And yet, someone's paid multi-millions of dollars just to mock that up in Photoshop.
Logo design is, if you can get into that is a lucrative career, I'm here to tell you.
Yeah. So we won't go too much more into it. I just thought it was funny. And some of the memes have been pretty good with this.
They've been great. I've loved them.
Yeah. Well, you'll notice that we talk about memes a lot. We love our memes here.
We do. You'll start seeing some more from our Twitter account.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah, we'll mention at the end.
Of course. Okay, so that's going to cover us for the news this week. It's been a bit of a lighter week, but those are some pretty big stories, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. God, it's just January. Hard to believe.
Yeah.
Second week of January of a 5-week month. Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm so broke.
Oh no, everyone is. Oh, I'm dying.
Yep.
But that does bring us to our next segment, which, as I always say, is supposed to be a 2-minute segment called You Got This. And it's a moment to begin your week where you just kind of chill for a couple minutes and just kind of take it easy and think through your week. And this week, I'm actually going to read a very small little thing I got off of Twitter. It's from a from an account called Talk to the Hatter, which is talk_to_the_hat. I think he's a writer. I followed him for a while. He's pretty well known, but he posted something that really resonated with me, and I thought I would share it with everyone. Cool. And that is, he starts it with heal. Traumas resurface for a reason. You give them power. You give them charge. Healing happens in layers. First, you need to strip the power. Then you need to diffuse the charge until they no longer trigger you because you heal. And so for this You Got This segment, trauma is different to everyone. We all experience our own levels, and it's personal to the person. But one thing that you can do is to take charge of your healing.
Yeah.
And because I think there's another saying that says if you don't heal yourself, you'll bleed all over the next person.
A little bit visceral, but yeah.
Yeah, emotionally bleed.
Yeah, I know what it meant.
And but it's very true.
Yeah.
So, and it can be minor things, but if it's something that sticks in your head, if it's something that has really affected you inside, it will affect you outside as well. And then it kind of becomes your responsibility to take control, take charge, and pursue your own healing, whatever that may be. And we always mention the Samaritans. So again, they're a great place to start. I know that if you're on the NHS, you can request a few weeks of what's called CBT therapy, and that's a really good starting place. And it's
an excellent starting place. It just does take a little bit of time to get through, because there is quite a few people who are seeking that help themselves. So just be patient with that one, because it took me a fair while for that.
Yes, I actually did the same as well, and it takes a few weeks, but it's worth it in the end.
Yeah, agreed.
And then, as always, we always say that we're here to listen. Yep. And I can definitely personally attest that Pete is a fabulous listener.
I try. I mock you sometimes, but that's all just part of it.
I was going to say, I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
Look, sometimes the best way to heal a problem is through humour.
Yes. Oh, I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, sometimes you just go, even if you're talking to someone about the most, ridiculous thing that you're talking about, just, it really gets to you, and it's one of those things that you just can't seem to see why it's causing you such an upset. You just go, it's someone making a joke about it, just make it such a light situation. You go, why am I overthinking this situation? What is the deal here?
Yeah.
But it takes a few moments to find someone who is willing to listen to you, who's willing to take stock of everything that you're saying, not just this situation is affecting you because of this. They're not. Some people aren't willing to answer all your situations. I don't think that's the way to heal. They let you talk, and the way that you can sometimes heal yourself is by talking yourself out of that situation as well.
Yes.
Because if you put it out there in words, out loud, you start to think about it a little bit more than you would if you're an insular person.
Absolutely.
And then hearing it out loud can sometimes make you think, this is ridiculous.
Yes.
I've done it so many times where I've overthought something, and then I'd say it to someone like you or to my partner and go, hold on, this is really ridiculous, isn't it?
Right, exactly.
I'm not saying that everything is completely ridiculous. I'm not saying that at all, because there are some very strong situations that do happen that
but it's
are very emotional, very easy to get yourselves into situations where you're very down about them. But having someone to talk to is the best thing that you can do. Just find someone that you trust.
Yes.
Who you are happy to discuss this with, who isn't going to mock you like I do. I'm joking.
Unless you need, which I do. So.
Yeah, I honestly do really believe that healing through humor is the greatest things that we can have. And I only mock Kylie because I think we're closer now than we have obviously been because of this podcast,
right?
Where we can actually take the mick out of each other quite a lot and get away with it.
Yeah.
But also, she knows full well, and I know full well that it's not. We're not trying to be.
Oh no.
For want of a better word, an idiot about it.
Right.
We're just. It's just how we are.
Yeah.
We like to wind each other up.
Yes. And really that's what you need, is to find inside of you what your thing is. I do heal by humor. I've frequently mentioned unicorn chasers, which is like YouTube videos or something that I'll go find that will lighten my mood,
of course,
type of thing. And but what it all comes down to is taking that first step and say, I need to heal. And so that's really what I want you to go forth this week. And
of course,
and think, you've got this. You've so got this.
And if you don't got this, then talk to someone.
Yes, please talk with someone. Again, it could be either of us, which will give you our contact info at the end, or the Samaritans, or
if you're outside of the UK, then the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, or something along those lines if you're in America.
Absolutely. And if you feel like you want to remain anonymous, those lines are excellent for that. But there's also various things on the internet. There's internet sites where you can just spill your guts without any identifying information, and people will say, I get it, I understand. Absolutely.
I get that as well. It's quite hard to find someone that you trust, and I especially find that very difficult. I've had a lot of people in the past who have abused that sort of power situation to the point where I do find it very difficult to be as trusting as I once was. But it's through that situation that you find out who the people that you need around.
Absolutely. And let's face it, it's part of growing up.
Of course it is.
So that's this week's You Got This, and just remember you got this, and we're here for you.
Of course, we'll give you the details at the end.
Yes.
Where you can get hold of us.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for that. That's a really good one, actually. I thought that was very interesting.
Very good. I hope so.
Yeah.
So
we will move on to more light-hearted topics.
Yes.
Well, no.
Well, wait.
We're going to start a console war here.
I was going to say, light-hearted for who?
So, if you listened last week, you know that we covered games. And you may have been thinking, there is something very absent here. Why didn't we talk the new consoles?
Yeah.
And it was the day after that I went, why didn't we talk about the consoles?
The most important part of it.
Yeah. So this year we have got, obviously we've mentioned them already, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X coming out.
Yeah.
Spent round holiday of this year in 2020.
Yes.
So let's discuss them. And we're going to preview them basically, but we don't... This is the problem. Some of the information is still very slim.
Yes.
Because they're not officially been unveiled, really, apart from a promotional video from Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
And a few TechRadar or is it Wired articles from Mark Cerny of PlayStation 5, who is actually the lead architect on the system like he was on the PS4.
Right.
Let's hope we don't get knack free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was essentially just a tech demo, wasn't it?
That
just
is exactly
what the PS4 could do.
Yep. That's exactly what that was.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, which one shall we cover first? Do you want to talk PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X specs?
Well, I will say that because there's more PS5 specs, I think maybe we should start with Xbox.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's pretty cut and dry.
Okay, so this may bore some of the people who do not care, essentially, about what actually powers their boxes.
Yes.
But I don't care. We're going to talk them because I think these are important to show what kind of a step up that we are going to actually have in the next generation. So, obviously, with the PS4 and the Xbox One, we had what was essentially the Jaguar Jaguar architecture, or Jaguar if you are in the Americas, which, in all fairness, are very underpowered, very bad now. At the time, they were they were decent, but they were very hard to process or to develop for.
Yes,
it was always stated that the Xbox One and the PS4 developments weren't easy. They got easier over time, as to be expected, but it was the same essential situation that they had with the PS3 as well, which is why it was such a nightmare to program for. But in terms of the Xbox One X, let's go over tech speak. Boring. So the process that they're using this time around, I think we have kind of mentioned that it is a custom AMD rather than it's custom AMD Zen 2 architecture,
right?
Which is essentially what most gaming PCs are using nowadays.
Yes, AMD has proven to have just, I don't want to say come out of left field, because that's not accurate. They've always been around, but I would say the last few years they have really stepped up their game, not only in their power delivery, which is really good, but their price. Shocking.
They're very competitive in terms of their price, which I think is very interesting.
Which, as far as PC builds go, I was quite pleased about, because I built my recent one that I'm using right now. And I'm really pleased. I'm pleased they've went and stuck with AMD, but then you think, of course they do, because this is Microsoft.
I would agree, but that's the thing, is that AMD have come up so much in the last few years, especially since the Ryzen cores came out, that actually, they have definitely put a dent into NVIDIA's NVIDIA completely.
Yes,
and that's what I'm really interested to see, actually, is that or into Intel themselves, that we will see a lot more interesting stuff based on the AMD architecture rather than the Intel, or whatever side you want to look at,
right?
In that, but it's also the same thing that they're also using AMD for their graphics as well, which is let's say that's not unusual, because if you've got an AMD processor, you've got an AMD graphics card.
Exactly, like those kind of go hand in hand in my head. There's no.
That's not to say that you can't use NVIDIA's graphics cards, because I have heard that there are people running Ryzen cores in their gaming PCs, along with like a NVIDIA like 1080 Ti or a 2060 or something like that.
Like there's absolutely took the words right out. You can definitely do that. For me, I just stay the same across the board for no reason. I literally don't have a reason. I just like, I don't know. It's a cheesy thing in my head that, well, if they both got the same name, well, they'll work better together.
And that you did very much sound like you're very Texan there.
That was my Texas accent.
Okay, that's cool.
The voice inside my head is very Texan.
So I think mainly what Microsoft have done here, it's quite a smart one, I think, is they've decided the processor and the graphics card are the most important parts of these boxes.
I would agree.
And to alleviate cost on a much wider scale, they have just got a deal with AMD here.
Absolutely. From a business point of view, this is exactly the path you would take. It's not a big surprise. I find it interesting, though, that Phil Spencer was quoted as saying, we wanted to have a dramatic upgrade from the Xbox One base console, which, yes, they needed to, because they have to justify the cost. So when we do the math, we're over 8 times the GPU power of the Xbox One and 2 times what an Xbox One X is. That is interesting. I think that's a very interesting way to phrase that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's the best math.
No.
I think he's overestimating. If you want to be on it, if I want to, yeah.
I think so as well.
Yes, on paper, those numbers, 8 times and 2 times, on paper, those numbers he's safe in saying that. But when you've got the CPU is 3.5 gigahertz, 8 core, compared to the 1X, which is a 2.3 gigahertz, 8 core, you're not taking that big of a jump.
No, you're not. But that's the thing, is that it's a 3.6 gigahertz 8 core on the Xbox Series X.
Yeah, and so I think he's saying that the Xbox One X is 2 times that. It's not quite. It's just me, but I would say maybe 1.5 times.
I would honestly wait to see how it's going to be. Because leave it. I will say it now that apparently there was a couple of things that happened over the last few weeks where they've been talking a little bit more about them, where obviously Phil Spencer's changed his display picture on Twitter to the processor itself. Right. Just a picture of the processor that says 8K on it. Which I thought was really funny.
That is funny.
So he just put a picture out there that was basically the processor that's going to be used on the Xbox Series X, and just put it as his display picture on Twitter, which I found very weird.
Yes. I mean,
but
it is important. But
God.
No, I was going to say it is important. The processor is important, but it's not. It doesn't matter how strong your processor is if the stuff around it isn't working in tandem to make it powerful. Yeah.
I mean, you go onto things like PC Specialist if you're trying to actually build a PC.
Yes.
And you'll get so many notifications that say to you, oh, by the way, this doesn't work with this and this doesn't work with that. So you've got to do a lot of tinkering around with it and find out the most optimal way of doing things.
Absolutely. And
most of the time, you're not going to find things that work completely in tandem with each other, despite the fact that's exactly what you want.
Right.
So it's all about a configuration and how you put it all together.
Yeah, because even when I was building this, I actually took my my processor down a peg.
Yep.
To work with the graphics card that I particularly wanted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's a great gaming PC, but it's not great for, let's say, editing video.
No, that's a whole different process entirely.
Exactly. It creates a bottleneck and that kind of thing. But for gaming, I could take that step down. Yeah, exactly. So having said that, it's the same for, of course, a console.
Yeah, exactly. These aren't just built just to play games. They are entertainment units in a sense. So they're going to want to play your video and your Netflix, your YouTubes, and all that sort of thing that everyone strives to have on their all-in-one entertainment boxes now.
I wonder. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that you've got to make sure that the processors are completely maximized to be able to actually process all of this whilst not overheating or breaking the thing, pretty much. So, like you said, with bottlenecking.
And to one point, I'll say, even though we're not quite there yet, the PlayStation, I think the way the developer model looks, it is got a lot of airflow, which makes me like, oh, are we, are we getting powerful? Do what?
We all know about the UFO.
Well, yes.
Yeah, but then you look at the Xbox Series X and how it's designed well, and you've got a huge airflow function on the top.
Yeah, which
I mean, it was lit up in green as well in that video, which is I think's very cool. But if you're playing your console at night, Jesus Christ, that is going to light your whole room up.
I've got LEDs on everything, on my TV and my computer, and my office right now is glowing green because.
So basically, what you're saying is your office is a Christmas tree.
It really is. Oh my gosh, it is. But what I was going to say a while ago was, I kind of wonder, way back in the old days of the retro consoles, they used to do a lot of, what was it? Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Well, you kind of, Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Okay, that. But a lot of what they would do was that they would create buzzwords, and they would,
blast processing.
Yes, blast processing, exactly. And then you know it was like 32-bit, versus 16-bit. When you went under the hood, there was no real difference. So
no, there wasn't.
Yeah, so I'm kind of wondering if maybe we should go on high alert again.
I was going to bring this up actually. Someone brought this up, and I think it was Review Tech USA. Really, really good for like tech and stuff, and Linus Tech reviews as well.
Yes.
They're very good in this sort of respect.
Absolutely.
But one of them, I think it was Review Tech, said we basically have moved now in the 90s from the bit war to now being in the 2020s. To the teraflop war.
Yes. Yes. That's it. That's it exactly.
It's literally all about the teraflops now, because that's all we're ever going to hear. Because the graphics card, obviously, we mentioned classic AMD Navi-based GPU, but it says next to it that it's got 12 teraflops of power.
Right.
Now, we're already hearing that potentially the PS5 will have less than 12 teraflops.
Right.
So.
But again.
Again.
Listeners, you have to be aware that just because the number is bigger doesn't mean more power. Yeah.
No, it's how they configure the entire box unit itself. I mean, like we said, with custom PCs, you can configure them how you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want literally just a gaming PC, then you're going to configure it to the best specs possible. But if you try to do anything else other than that, it's gonna flop basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, it's gonna teraflop.
Ha!
Sorry.
That was terrible.
I know.
Terrible.
Oh god, that was even worse.
That's why you listen, people, for our puns.
I thought they listened for our really bad jokes. Clearly.
Yes.
But anyway, I know what you're getting at there. It's just, it's not necessarily about all the speculation, the numbers, all that sort of thing. It's the optimization. How well are each company going to optimize the boxes?
That is the key word in all of this, which is optimization. Because there's so much you can do. I mean, even as far as the RAM goes, they've got the Xbox Series X is going to have 13 gig for games and 3 gigs. Yeah, guaranteed. And 3 gigs for the operating system. Which I can tell you right now, that's very small.
It is quite small
for the operating
system. To be honest, most gaming PCs will only usually have about 16 gigs of RAM anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly.
On a PC as well. The operating system will take more.
That's
RAM.
Really what I'm kind of saying is that even nowadays, I wouldn't. Now, this is, again, we're strictly talking PC, and I realize that is different, but I wouldn't go under 4 gig. So that kind of has a little bit of a flag up for me, just out of curiosity.
I'm going to say no, actually, because I think I'm going to sit on the other side of the fence here. Sure. I think 3 gigs is going to be a good amount for the for the operating system itself, because I think one of the issues with the Xbox One, which is why they had to redevelop it into the Xbox One X, is that the operating system used far too much RAM.
It did, yeah, absolutely.
So I think they're trying to optimize it so that it utilizes less of the RAM on the operating system, so they can maximize more out on the games themselves.
Okay, I can see. Okay. I want to. I want to see how this goes. I see exactly what you're saying. And I could see it that way. Yeah. But it is for the moment noted in my head that I would have done 4 for operating system, but we'll watch and see. It's all about it's all about how it plays. It's performance. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly. And I'll mention one particular console that is quite underpowered at the moment, but seems to utilize the processor and the memory itself very well in the operating system, and how it uses very little is the Switch.
Yes.
It's they basically optimized that Tegra X1 chip to be able to utilize less of the power on the operating system, so that it boots up very quickly and is very minimalist in terms of its processing power on its quote dashboard.
Yes.
As we so it launches into games ultimately a lot quicker than the Xbox One and the PS4 do.
Yeah, and honestly, now that you brought that up, actually, I would like to see both next generation consoles do a more streamlined, I don't know, whatever they want to call it, dashboard, store, whatever.
Operating system.
Yeah, but I mean, like, right now I've got my Xbox up, which is, why I'm pointing this out. It's so bogged down with stuff that it doesn't need.
It's too cluttered for sure, and that
was too cluttered. Yeah.
I was a bit disappointed with that in terms of the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
Is the dashboard itself, I mean, it runs all right. It's a cluttered mess, to be honest.
It's a big mess, and then they seem to have started selling ad space. So
yeah, they have, but that's Microsoft for you.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in that when that started up like a year or two ago. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to it, but until about a couple of years ago. And then so I would think, this is just my logic, stripping that down would then you wouldn't need a very large, a lot of, we wouldn't need that processing, the RAM to power the operating system if you strip it down. And I think Nintendo is absolutely a perfect example of that. I love their store. I think it's quite streamlined.
It is streamlined, but it's more mainly for the actual operating system itself, and how you manage to get from the home screen into games pretty quickly, because it's not bottlenecking it. It's just
right, exactly.
Utilize so little of the RAM for that operating system because it's got so little on it.
Yeah.
But to those who like specs and lots of numbers and letters thrown at you, this is going to be utilizing GDDR6 RAM.
Yeah.
But I think we have kind of mentioned about the operating system, and I think one of the things that is going to make things a lot more smoother. So if you were looking at the 16 gigs of RAM there and the 13 gigs of guaranteed RAM for game developers to be able to utilize, and thought that might be a little bit underpowered like you did.
Yeah.
This is where I think it's going to change things.
Okay.
Is the NVMe SSD drives.
I am very pleased that both consoles are going to be utilizing SSD.
Yep, perfect. Like, most gaming PCs will come with a solid state drive now, and Mark Cerny himself was talking about this with the PS5, how when he was running Marvel's Spider-Man on the PS5 development unit, how sometimes the loading could take a little bit of time. I think I can't remember exactly how much he said it was on the PS4, but he said he managed to get the load times down to less than 5 seconds, I think it was.
Wow, yeah.
So
I wonder if
it might even be less than that, to be fair, but they have managed to significantly cut down on load times.
Because that's exactly what, to bring it down simple terms, that's exactly what an SSD will do. It allows, how do I describe this? It allows, let's say your console is a brain.
Yeah.
SSD allows you to multitask.
That's exactly it. I think I couldn't put it better any other way, really.
Yeah, and so that means that, yes, by association, the load times will go down. That should also make cutscenes be smoother.
So you probably won't have as many issues with rating and stuff like that, because it is essentially taking some of the process away from the memory units, and it's essentially storing some of that process on its solid state drive to be able to read it much more quickly, and it reads up to 2 gigabytes per second apparently.
And see, that's going to be a huge help. I think, honestly, now, okay, this is just me and my nerdy self. Honestly, that has been the most exciting bit of the tech that either console has announced that I personally have been like, when I saw the PlayStation announce it first, and then which kind of ultimately I'm going to get both. Let's just be honest.
I probably will eventually.
Yeah. But when PlayStation came out with the SSD first specs listed, then I was like, oh, well, I'm going with the PS5, obviously. Yeah. But now they're both doing it. I'll have to watch performance because I don't buy on first day. I usually wait a good 3 months to let the bugs go out. Sometimes of course. I actually waited for 360 I got day of, but the first Xbox I waited a year because it was buggy as frick. So was the 360.
To be honest, we won't go into the 360.
Red Ring of Death.
I've had far too many of them.
Yeah.
To be honest.
My first one had to go back.
Break because of red rings.
Yep.
And I wasn't even there day one in November of 2005. I was there February 2006.
Wow. Okay.
So I'd given it a few months, and it was still a bit of a mess. Truth be told.
I will say that I bought mine, and then 4 months later, red ring, and I sent it back because that's back when. Microsoft was like they went back and said, you know what? Yeah, we'll exchange it. Yeah, we messed up. So I got one of those.
I think I remember reading at 57% of all Xbox 360s had the red ring of death problem. It was significantly high.
Yeah, because I will say that me and 2 friends of mine bought ours on the same day.
Yeah.
One of them got the Halo edition, and then I had the regular, and then I think my other friend had just one step up, like the bigger hard drive.
Oh, the bigger hard drive, yeah.
Yeah, and mine and the Halo one red ringed, so that was 2 out of 3.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's not a surprise, and that fits quite nicely with their 50-odd something, 57%, because it is nearly 2/3.
Yeah, they almost lost me as a fangirl until they said, I know, it's crazy, but
don't worry, they nearly did with me as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan, but
I was a fangirl at the time. I don't remember why I was so mad at the PlayStation. Who knows back then?
Because the PlayStation 3 was
it was a paperweight.
Expensive paperweight.
Yeah. And I was mad at I had like legitimate reasons though. Oh my gosh, just fangirl and fanboys were insane.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, because looking back on it, I'm like, why was I so irate? But
of course, it's quite funny though. Just before you carry on, I got called a fanboy at work the other day by someone. A couple of weeks ago. Right. We were discussing. I'd seen something on Twitter, and we were discussing the idea of fanboys. This guy is pretty pretty solidly on the Microsoft aspect.
Right.
And he called me a Nintendo fanboy.
Oh my gosh. Well.
And I went, hold on a minute. I'm not a fanboy because I can actively criticize the company that I do like.
Exactly.
And then I came back to him this week and I went, I bought an Xbox One X. I'm not a fanboy.
There you go. Yeah. See, I'm very much, yes, I used to be very aligned with one or the other.
I would agree.
Yeah, started out PlayStation, and then once they dropped the PlayStation 3, I switched allegiances to the Xbox 360. But now that I'm older, I just buy them, all of them. I don't care.
Me too.
I just don't care.
I switched
just
my
give
allegiance
me good games. My allegiance is to games now. Like, whoever makes the best game. Yeah.
But originally, my allegiances were actually to Sega.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I know. I know. But
absolutely.
I am more about the games than anything, and I will criticize any company that puts out an underpowered or a console that most people either like or dislike. I don't care. From my aspect, I will actively criticize anything that makes a misstep. Which is why I'm so vocal about the N64 being a piece of junk.
It really was. Yeah. And then, but even when, I was a diehard Xbox 360 fan.
Yeah.
Then they came out with the Xbone, and which I love calling it that. But when they came out with the always on, always,
that all-in-one entertainment unit, the DRM.
And you had to be connected to the internet. I lost it. I was like, oh, well, you know what? Microsoft has lost me. I'm done. Because
I was the same. I was a 360 player than I was a PS3. Yeah. And when they started talking about DRMs on the Xbox One, I went, right, I don't even have to see the box. I'm getting a PlayStation 4.
Exactly my reaction. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to lie. I've said it before. PlayStation knew. They picked up that marketing and just ran with it.
They didn't have to do anything. As soon as they said about game sharing on the Xbox One, they came out with that video like a day later with them two just sharing a game between each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was marketing genius.
It was absolutely. It just was.
Perfect. But yeah.
So we
I don't know.
Probably talk about PlayStation specs.
Well, we kind of have been at the same time.
I was going to say.
This is one of the things that I'm going to mention is that most of the specs that we've got given for both consoles are very similar.
They are.
They're not too dissimilar, let's just say.
Right.
So going back to it, obviously, we're going to have an optical drive on both by the looks of it.
Yeah.
We've definitely seen that on the Xbox Series X because that was shown on there.
Yeah.
But they are 4K Blu-ray drives, so it was probably more than likely that they will increase the size of the disc to be UHD Blu-rays, like they are releasing on movies now. I think some games have, like with Red Dead 2 and all that, they did come over 2 Blu-ray discs.
They did, yeah.
That will probably stop once we start using the larger Blu-ray discs that we are getting given now. But I wanted to talk about video output on this because this is an interesting one. I'm not too sure how they're going to do this, but it sounds like future-proofing to me.
Yes.
But they're saying that it's potential for 8K resolution.
Yes. Look, I'm just going to be very upfront with our listeners. 4K and 8K aren't going to mean a hill of beans if your refresh rate of your TV is not high.
Or if the refresh rate on the console is not very high either.
Right. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. I was being a little too...
It does work both ways.
Yeah. Yes, your console has to work in tandem with your, monitor or television.
Which is why monitors seem to work better than most TVs.
Yes.
That's why a lot of gamers swear by a gaming monitor, because the refresh rate is always so good on them.
It's much better, and that's why I also want to say, the industry would probably not like people like me, but you know how sometimes you'll see, I'll just use, there's a store over here. It's not quite like anything we have back in the US, which is called Argos.
Good old Argos.
Yeah, Argos, and then they kind of compete. Their tech kind of competes with Curry's, which is another tech seller. Sometimes you'll see they have 4K TVs for under like 500 quid. You're talking like 350 quid for a 40-inch 4K. Oh my gosh, that's amazing! Run out and get it.
It's really good, actually.
Until you look at the refresh rate.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's tripped me up a lot, which is why most of the time when I buy a TV now, I don't go with any other company other than LG.
Oh, LG's so good. Oh.
Yeah, they are fantastic. They've got really good picture quality on them. The refresh rate is always usually really good. And fun fact for you, most TV companies, including Samsung, use LG parts.
Yes, that's exactly right. I'm just going to say this is just a personal recommendation. If you're looking for affordable tech, LG is good. If you can splurge out a little bit more, Philips is your more high-end.
Philips are very good. They have been known to use some lower end spec stuff in their units, but if you're paying above a certain amount, they won't really do that.
That's really what I'm talking about. That's your high end if you're going that route. But for the rest of us, LG is absolutely the best. And yes, you're absolutely right. They use a lot of LG parts in basically just across the board. But so having said all that, I can barely just now probably afford a proper 4K TV that will show it's actually 4K. As far as an 8K, that's not going to be available to me or the common working man for a very long time. We're talking multi-years.
Yeah, I actually, funnily enough, when I was doing some shopping up in an area in South London, around the Christmas time, I went into John Lewis because why not? It's a huge John Lewis store. They did have an 8K TV there.
Did they really?
Oh my god! It was.
I would like to have seen that.
It was impressive. It was very impressive. Let's just say the picture quality was amazing. But not for £3,000.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, you're going to pay well out of the odds for John Lewis anyway.
Yeah, you are. They do. They have a markup.
Definitely not £3,000 for an 8K TV. Most companies do not even utilize 4K properly at the moment.
That's really where I'm going with this. Is we're here to tell you like it is, listeners. Don't be fooled by the bigger numbers. Bigger is not always better.
No, it's that refresh rate.
It's the refresh rate. Most of you probably have 4K TVs now, and you're probably not getting the full effect.
No, because your refresh rate is probably lower than 60 at least.
Exactly, and your
what the thing is about that is, if you are like myself, a big fighting game player, you are wanting to look for something that is more than 60 hertz.
That's it,
because
exactly.
that refresh rate is exactly what you're going to be looking for when it comes to your FPS. Yeah. Your frames per second.
And to be fair, what company is it? I bet it was Philips. I think it's Philips. They've actually patented a new name for their refresh rate.
Okay.
So it's called something like, I don't know, rapid refresh or something.
I think I've heard of that, actually.
So they're using their own metric.
Yeah.
Which can fool you, because you're like, 90 hertz refresh rate? Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need. And then you're like, you see the little asterisk, and it's like rapid refresh rate, which is a subsidiary of Philips Magnavox or whatever. So just be sure to read everything before you make a big purchase.
Exactly.
And
one of the other things that you're going to be looking for is its input delay or its input lag. You're going to want something that is as close to probably two MS basically, 2M-S, which is I can't remember what it stands for, but it's it's basically it is your input delay on there. And most smart TVs, especially 4K TVs, will have multiple different settings in which they cater to different markets. So you'll have a cinema setting, but you'll also have a gaming setting which does reduce that input lag. One of the best monitors that you can probably get for something like that are the Zowie BenQs.
Okay, I have not looked into those.
They've got next to 0 ms input delay, which is why they're used on the circuit a lot.
Of course.
They use those monitors in competitive gaming a lot.
Okay, well that's a good thing. I'm learning too.
I've looked into this far too much.
I have as well, but of course not from the fighting game aspect.
Well, I looked at it mainly because, like, obviously, I need as much little input lag as possible. But that also works for shooters as well because they're very reactionary, like fighting. So if you are a shooter fan, like you are, like I know you are, then you're going to be interested to see about those low refresh rate, those high refresh rates and stuff like that.
Yeah, because when it comes to let's say a multiplayer shooter, every nanosecond counts. And you can't have any. You can't have any lag. Not even one hiccup on an internet lag. That's why. God, it's cheesy, but if you ever do go into competitive gaming, when you're practicing at home, use a wired internet.
Always.
Don't use Wi-Fi.
I hear everyone talk about the bane of Wi-Fi.
And it's great. Like, I'm absolutely 100,000% sure that the new PS and Xbox X are going to have built-in Wi-Fi, like the current Xbone.
Funnily enough, it doesn't actually say anything about it on the specs that
it hasn't. I haven't found it.
No, also because we haven't actually seen the back of the box on the Xbox Series X. We don't know what exactly we're getting on there.
And
there'll be a HDMI port because that's kind of obvious. You can't play 4K without a HDMI port.
Has to.
But whether or not they're going to have dual HDMI ports like they did on the Xbox One with the integration for the set-top boxes and all that sort of thing, I don't know whether that's going to be the case.
It'll be. I bet they'll have, because it's Xbox, so they'll release probably a basic, but then they'll strip away stuff.
Yeah,
and have a really basic model, and then they'll add a bunch of stuff and have a top of the line model, because that's usually what they do.
Well, that does fit in line with some of the leaks that we'd heard even before the Xbox Series X was announced, in the fact that there was two SKUs coming, or a SKU as we call it, the Xbox Anaconda and the Xbox Lockhart. The Anaconda being the more powerful, more overpowered one, that will have all the features, and Lockhart is the more budget version.
So that'll be interesting, because I think, the 360, when it first came out, did not have Wi-Fi. You had to buy a dongle.
That dongle was a piece of junk as well. And
it wouldn't stay connected.
I hated that thing.
But then they came out with the Xbox Elite, I think. 360 Elite?
No, the Elite was so they had two different SKUs even at launch, didn't they? They had the Xbox 360 Arcade, which had no hard drive.
Yes, that's right.
Came with that stupid memory unit. It was like 512 megabytes.
Yes.
Which, what what a piece of crap,
I know.
to be honest.
Yeah.
And then we had the Elite, which I said they called it the Elite package because it had the 20 gig hard drive.
Yeah.
Yes, they did release a Elite version of the old design, which was the black version of 120 gig hard drive.
Yeah, that's okay. That's right.
Then after that, they redesigned the unit and they called it the Xbox 360S.
Yes.
Where they had the built-in wireless to it.
That's it. Yeah. Because I resented having to buy another Xbox 360 at the time.
Yes. Yeah, so did I, but that was because I wanted rid of my Red Ring of Death machine.
Yeah, and I wanted all the newer specs and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They what they did is they basically they tightened the whole package up. Basically,
they did. They released what probably should have been. Released. Yeah. But having said all that, when it comes to both of these consoles, I'm going to recommend a wired connection.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Wi-Fi is great because no wires, obviously. Duh, that's what it means.
Yeah, of course, it is nice, but in terms of your delay and all that sort of thing, and
it's not worth it.
No, it's kind of like, and I hate to keep harking on them for a bad thing, but Stadia, how they wanted the controllers to link up to the Wi-Fi specifically. It would be linked to your hub so that the input delay was a lot less. But they didn't achieve that at all.
They didn't. And it kind of makes sense. I see the logic, but that was never going to work.
No, it's not. Because what if you wanted to play this on the go? Like what they were saying, the Pixel 4 phones. Yeah. How are you going to link it up to a Wi-Fi network if you're out?
Yeah, exactly.
Your controller wouldn't work.
No.
Pretty much. But anyway, so so we'll go back onto obviously the units themselves. So couple of the biggest features that they've got on there, and this is not just to do with the boxes themselves, is the haptic feedback on the controllers.
Yes.
Both will have haptic feedback, which is, if you don't know what haptic feedback is, then go and just get your mobile phone to vibrate. Yeah. That's it. That's that.
I have to admit, I know it's cheesy and silly, but I like haptic feedback.
It's nice. We have it on the Switch at the moment with the HD Rumble. I really like it.
I had a small stint as a UI designer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. UX is really what it's called. But but it was a very short stint, about a year and a half.
Okay.
But there's a lot of psychology that actually goes into that.
Yeah, of course.
More psychology than programming. And people love instant feedback. So if you click something, you like to hear it make a little noise. And all that kind of thing. And so, like, I obviously I have an iPad and an iPhone. But I'm not an Apple fan girl, I promise.
No, of course not. I always used to make this joke, right? To my partner. I don't because I'm not a big fan of apples.
Right.
I said I don't like apples, but I have an iPad, an iPhone, and an iPod.
See?
Yes.
Yep. So when they took the button away, the home button.
Oh God! What were they thinking?
I know.
Not even just that, but what? Why get rid of that 3.5mm headphone jack too?
Oh gosh, that's another episode. Yes. Oh, yeah, I could rant about that. Oh, but yeah, I missed the feedback. So I was glad when with the phones they added the little thump on your thumb.
Yeah.
Because it makes me feel like I've done something.
Yeah, admittedly it is quite nice, but I will never ever use the fingerprint thing to unlock my phone ever. Mainly because if you ever get done for a crime, then they can use that as evidence.
That's true. I hadn't thought of it
They just got your fingerprint right there already.
Well, yes, that's very true.
It's a system that can be easily abused by people who shouldn't abuse it.
No, that's very true.
Yeah,
I remember that, you know, how there's always a kind of urban legend, you know, fears come out every time there's new technology. I remember some of the fears of the, we'll call them Karens, which are the older ladies that are the moms that have the, you know, the short haircut and ask to see a manager. I remember the thing going around them was, because I have a lot of friends in that bracket, that people will start chopping off other people's fingers to get into their phones.
Oh, Karen. If you're thinking about cutting off thumbs, then you might need psychological help, I think.
They're like, oh, you know, this is, you know, someone think of the children. They're going to have their thumbs chopped off for their phones. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, God. What is her name? I'm trying to think of her name. Oh, it's Reverend Lovejoy's wife.
Oh,
Helen.
gosh,
Helen
yes,
Lovejoy.
yes.
Oh, somebody please think of the children.
Oh, my gosh. It'll be interesting to see what crazy fears come out.
There's going to be some crazy things that happen.
Oh, there is.
These months.
Yeah, there always is.
So,
yes.
I think we'll wrap this up a little bit, because I think we've basically discussed pretty much everything we're going to know about them at the moment, with exception to one feature. Full backwards compatibility with PS4, PS3, PS2, PS1 games on the PlayStation 5.
Yep.
As well as the entire lot for the Xbox. So Xbox One, 360, and OG Xbox, because Microsoft naming conventions made that really awkward.
Exactly.
I don't like them calling it OG, though, because it is. It's like, OG Xbox, we're old school now. We didn't release in 2001.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Oh, but, yes, I absolutely am thrilled for backwards compatibility. Because
I've started stockpiling games.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think we talked about that last week or something. But
Jennifer said that. She's been buying PS4 games ready for the next generation.
Abso-freaking-lutely. I've held on to stuff. I don't know why, because I can't let things go, I guess.
Well, you basically pretty much admitted that you're a hoarder.
Yes and no.
No, when it comes to games, I am an absolute hoarder.
I was going to say, games and comics, I had to switch to digital for that reason. Yeah, but anything else, no. I'd like to live in just an empty room if I had my rathers. But no, I'm very thrilled. I'm absolutely pleased. For backwards compatibility. I
also do hope that Sony continue their route of allowing crossplay with the PS5 as well, because I think that's been one of the things from this generation, especially the back end of it, that's really proven what people actually want from the future, and that is the ability to be able to play with anyone that they want, despite what infrastructure they decide to choose.
Right.
And that has always been one of the telling features of why I would go to what console I did, is how many of my friends are getting a 360? Shall I get one? And I sillily, stupidly made the call to go and get a PS3.
Right.
Like, okay, why did I get a PS3 and Fallout when it actually runs better on 360?
Yeah.
And all my friends are on 360.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with the PS4 this time. It was like, okay, none of my friends are on PS4.
Right.
They're all on Xbox. Like, everyone I knew was on Xbox. Yeah, Street Fighter 5 came out on PS4, so therefore that was my decision made.
Yeah.
But it will be nice to know that I can just go and buy a console.
Yeah.
And just go, okay, so I've got this game on the Xbox Series X, let's say. That game is also coming out on PS5. I've got no issue with being able to play with next man down the street because he's got a PS5.
Yeah.
You know. sort of thing. It's quite a nice feature, actually. I really like it.
Absolutely.
You know, being able to pick up Rocket League on the Switch and just play that across any console now, especially since PlayStation hunkered down so badly on that to stop.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
It is quite. They should continue it because it's only going to be a PR move.
I was going to say, there's more money to be made together than sectioning off everyone. So, I mean, social media should have taught us that, if anything.
Yeah. I think they're starting to realize that people don't care about their particular consoles. They care about who they play with.
Yes, exactly. So
it's good.
Make more money
argue
together.
with that. Apparently, though, as well, which is where things are going to be really, really interesting, is apparently this is also backwards compatible with PSVR, the PS5.
Yes, another thing I'm very pleased about, because I have a PSVR. I haven't played it much, and I didn't want to have to buy a PS5, and then I've just bought this PSVR within a year, and so I'm very happy about that.
Of course, I'm happy with that for PSVR players, of course, because I'm not a PSVR player. I'm not sure I enjoy it as much. But I like the fact that they aren't going to leave PSVR behind, and only probably make another revision of it. So we'll probably get PSVR 2, where they do. I reckon they'll probably make it a wireless headset next time around if they are going to rebrand it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I think that's going to cover our deep dive into the next generation of consoles, with exception to one thing. First of all, the release date.
Oh, yes.
The release dates are looking at what they say, holiday of 2020. So look around end of October, early November, maybe even to the November where we'll get them, because they're not going to release them in December. It's too close. Too close to Christmas for anyone to actually legitimately go out and get them. And if it's anything like trying to get a console on day one, good luck.
Yeah,
there's shortages, there's everything. Some people are going to be very disappointed when it comes to Christmas and they haven't got their shiny new box.
But I'll be waiting till February, I can tell you that right now.
Well, like I said
February,
before,
March.
with the upgrade that I've got on the Xbox One X, I am entitled to get one after 12 months. So it means in January I will probably be ready to go for that next generation. The other thing, and I'm trying to recall what it was now because it's completely gone from my head. God. Oh, pricing. We haven't received pricing for this, but don't be surprised if these boxes are around £500 at least, maybe $600. I can't see these being anything less than £400.
Not at release. Yeah, absolutely.
No, definitely not.
Absolutely.
But, interestingly enough, I did hear a rumor, something come out the other day about the Xbox, and I think this might be a good thing for them. That apparently any game that comes out on the Series X is also coming out on the Xbox One and the PC for the first 2 years.
That's good. Oh, that's so good.
So basically they've done is they basically integrated the Xbox Series X into the Xbox family of consoles.
Yeah.
Or Xbox family in a sense. So it's kind of like what Switch is doing with the Switch Lite and all that thing, is they want to make sure that nobody is left behind. So it's
That's excellent.
If you do not want to go and buy an Xbox Series X on day one and you're not that influenced by it, Halo Infinite is going to come out on the Xbox One and all that sort of thing. So that's only a smart move. That's a smart.
Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting and exciting next 2 years, I think.
I can't wait for it. So once we get closer to the time, obviously, we might have differing opinions on this one, but at the way it stands at the moment, I'm taking no ground here. I want to see more before deciding what I do. I mean,
it's
of course, I've got my name. I've got that on that refresh, on the on that all access deal. I can update it if I want to, but I may hold off. Until I know more information for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's that for that anyway. So I hope a deep dive into us nerding out about specs.
Exactly.
I know it's not everyone's cup of tea
know.
to hear someone talking about a GDDR like system and all that sort of thing,
but it's good to know stuff so that you can make wise decisions when you purchase things. Yeah.
Remember, knowledge is power.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we'll move on to listener questions.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
We'll take this one first. So thank you to the Gaming FYX podcast at FYX podcast on Twitter. Please go and check out their podcast. They've just hit over 100 episodes now. So fair play to them. Well done.
Absolutely.
I'm pleased to hear it. So what is with them with food questions? Seriously, like they make me hungry every time.
I know.
So when a recipe calls for 4 cloves of garlic, how much do you usually end up adding?
82.
Now that is garlicky. You're definitely not going to allow the vampires in.
I know.
All those Malkavians outside your door.
Let me specify those for those who don't know. A clove of garlic is the small segment inside of a bulb.
Not the whole bulb. Yeah.
Exactly. And so 4 cloves of garlic is not that much for me.
It's not a lot, really.
No, it's not.
Me too.
So I do tend to sometimes I'll just crack open the bulb and then just whatever's in it. I just use that. You smash it with a knife to get the...
Yeah, I do love that whole pressing it down with the blunt end, right?
Yeah.
With the flat end of the knife and just squashing it down.
Yeah, and so having said that, I toss in extra. I do.
Usually 1 or 2 extra for me. So if it asks for 4, I will usually put...
Yeah.
So long as it doesn't overpower it, of course. So tasting, making sure you taste it is all the key.
Yeah.
Is the key.
To any cooking.
If it's too overpowered with garlic, then, it's just going to ruin a meal.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about garlic, and we have an onion in Texas, which is called a Texas sweet onion. Yeah. I will say that they have started selling sweet onions over here.
Yes.
But they're smaller and, of course they're more exotic.
It's going to cost a little bit more,
They do. But there's nothing better to me when I've cut onions and garlic, and sweet onions and garlic, and I just smell my hands for the rest of the day.
It smells good. I will admit, it smells amazing.
Yep. I know other people are like, ew, I want it off my hands. I'm like, no, this is my dinner later.
Yeah. I know people who are not particularly fussed about garlic at all. They're not fans of it.
I can't even imagine.
Garlic is good. It's good. It's very good flavouring, and for those who are very interested in knowing, it's very good health-wise.
Yes, it's good for the heart.
There are so many antioxidants inside of garlic.
Yes, absolutely.
That apparently, if you this is going to be gross for anyone who likes to do this, but just hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
If you apparently eat a clove of garlic a day, it cuts your risk of cancer by about 60%.
I've read the same, and I will say for those who are not big on chomping a clove, they do actually sell supplements that you can take.
They do with lots of garlic.
Yes, and yes, it will give you garlic burps.
And garlic, the old garlic breath is not exactly appealing.
Right. So you have to weigh it with what you like and what you can handle. But it is really good. Supposedly, research has said it's good for the heart and it's good for cutting your cancer risk. So.
Yeah, it needs more studies to be done.
It does.
That was one thing I always found very interesting.
But
and I'm not the sort of person that's going to sit there and just eat cloves of garlic because that's gross.
No, that's like fish oil. Like fish oil is really good for you. But the idea of, sucking down a can of tuna oil, no, I can't do that.
I'm worried about what you do when you go to the beach. Are you just finding fish and just sucking them dry?
Yes.
Not like that. Not like that.
This time I didn't go NSFW. It was you. I know.
But
no, thankfully Thankfully, they make fish oil supplements as well, but they also give you
it's like
terrible
omega-3
burps. But, okay, so next question.
Mike at 2D, Mike 3D. We've got to have a conversation about this now. Is this your fun after a bad week? Torturing us with your excellently, gloriously good questions.
Yeah, he sits back and just pyramids his fingers.
Let's watch the world burn.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. But
yeah, he's Mr. Burns, clearly.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so he comes at us with, what's the worst game you couldn't stop playing?
Which is a very good question. I mean, it is.
Ages to think about.
I
still haven't even got an answer, I don't think.
Mine is, I'm going to be quick about it because I'm actually writing a review about it.
Okay.
But it's just, it is what it is. It's called Stygian. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's on Steam, and it's Lovecraftian. It's with Call of Cthulhu, and
I love that. Sounds right up my alley, to be honest.
It has so much potential. I don't want to give away too much of my review. It has so much potential, but is incredibly frustrating. But Niall, here's my second but, as I would rage quit and walk away from it.
If it wasn't for the review.
Yeah. Well, I would rage quit as I was playing it. Walk away, and then, oh gosh, I'm about to be super cheesy, but I would hear the Call of Cthulhu.
Ooh, okay.
A few hours later or the next day, and I'd be right back playing it. And so it's a very strange thing, and it's going to be a very strange review because I like to be very honest and say, this is a very bad thing. This is not good. This doesn't work. But I couldn't stop playing it. I have 80 hours into it, if that tells you anything.
That's a lot of hours.
That's a lot of hours. I mean, we're talking, that's kind of Fallout level?
Yeah.
Not my Fallout level. That's, 100
most normal people's Fallout level.
Exactly. So
you clearly are not a normal Fallout.
No, not at all. So that right there tells you that there's something about it, and I can't stop playing it. So.
Okay. Like I said, I don't know if I even really have an answer for this, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try a few at least.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to bring up a series that I don't think anyone's mentioned in quite a long time.
Okay.
Apart from a couple of people. Do you remember a series of games on the PS2 and the PS3 called Def Jam? Do you remember those?
I don't. What?
So basically they're just fighting, they're like fighting games, kind of.
Of course. I should have guessed that.
With rappers from the Def Jam record label.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. Okay. Wow, I didn't know there was games like that.
Yes, there are. I'm looking at one right now with one of my favorites. It's a terrible game. But it was so much fun.
Wow.
Def Jam Vendetta.
I've never heard of these. Or if I have, they were buried in the mist of time.
Well, so you had Def Jam Vendetta, which was the first. You had Def Jam Fight for New York.
Oh, wow.
And then there was Def Jam Icon, which flopped like an absolute turd.
Right.
Now, Def Jam Vendetta was the interesting one of it because it was more like a wrestling game than it was an actual brawler.
Right.
But the wrestling mechanics were awful in it. It was so bad. It was such a terrible game. I just couldn't stop playing it because it was so much fun.
Right.
Just watching DMX just beat up on someone else. It was like ludicrous.
Gosh.
It's so ludicrous, but it was so much fun. Another one I'll mention is from the N64 days. I think this may annoy a couple of people by saying this, especially one who I'm going to mention by name, Dr. Virtual, one of our previous guests.
Yes.
He loves this series, and I love the series as well, but it objectively is really, really poor quality.
Right.
Snowboard Kids.
Oh. What is that?
Now, Snowboard Kids is a game that was made by Atlas.
Uh-huh.
That is basically a snowboarding game when they're in the hype of the snowboarding craze.
I was going to say, Atlas makes lots of sports games.
Yeah. They made this series of games, Snowboard Kids 1 and 2, that was literally just generic characters as kids, and they were just...
Right.
It controlled like a terrible mess.
I think I've seen a Let's Play of that.
You would have done, and if you've seen Dr. Virtual's channel recently, he has done a couple of plays of it as well.
Absolutely.
They aren't very good games.
No.
But it's the fact that you get a few people together on the N64 and play it, and you're all playing this terrible mechanics. It's just, it is fun because of that.
Right.
The last game that I'll mention is one that is a very fond favourite of mine again. But in terms of wrestling games, is one of the worst.
Oh dear.
WCW NWO Revenge. I don't know how many hours I put in that game as a kid.
Oh my gosh.
But me and my friends just could not stop playing it. We just couldn't. Like, we just put the Royal Rumble thing on. This was obviously WCW, so it didn't have Royal Rumble, but it was like it was the 50-man, I think, or it was 30 or 50-man thing where people would just come in, and if you had been taken over the top rope, then the next character would come in, you would take control of them.
Right.
So you just keep going down the line until literally everyone was done. So that would last you a good hour and a half.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it was so much fun, but mechanically it was a flipping terrible game. And there were a couple of characters in there like Lapaka and Kimchi who were so broken. Yes. They were so overpowered. It was just wrong.
God, that was an era. Oh gosh. That was of its time. That's for sure.
Definitely of its time. Graphically, it's of its time.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
You go into any retro game shop and you'll see that game and you'll pick it up probably about £2
easily.
It was so popular. But my God, was it a mess? It was a mess.
That's brilliant.
Okay, I'm going to mention one other.
Sure.
Just one other, just a small part of it anyway. Because the games themselves and the films, actually, that they're based on, are very high favourites of mine. But there is one particular part of that game package that was very terrible. And it is Die Hard Trilogy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Die Hard with a Vengeance was one of the worst playing games on that package.
No, I would agree with
awful.
that. Yeah, no, the controls were terrible, the graphics were terrible.
Yeah, they were really bad,
no,
and
absolutely.
the voice acting was the worst Bruce Willis impression I've ever heard in my life.
Oh my gosh. Okay, listeners, if you haven't seen it, go YouTube it.
It's glorious.
Worth a watch. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when the bombs are going off and like all you see is just this red background coming towards you. It's so awful.
It's terrible. I think they rushed it just to get it out.
Yeah, the third part they did, but the other two parts were really good.
Yeah.
Die Hard 2 especially, like the weird thing about it is that like that whole package is like 3 games in one. And they all play incredibly differently. So the first one is obviously based on the first movie where you're going around the office building, the Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah.
And it is essentially just it's not a side scroll, it's like a 3D action game.
Yes.
Where you go floor by floor. It's very good.
It's fun. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, and then Die Hard 2, Die Harder was a light gun game.
Yes, that's right.
Strange. It was so weird.
It was very weird. But it was it was a good take. It was.
Yeah. Let me just say that I played Die Hard 2 so many times that I know that there's not many people that actually... they may know it now, but at the time didn't know about it. It's taking out the helicopter at the beginning of the game.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, if you managed to take that helicopter in a short window of time that you did, you got the most overpowered weapon.
That's
at
right.
the time.
That's exactly
right.
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I completed that game a lot.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Look, I'm a huge fan of Die Hard. I love that series.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Shut up.
I know. See, we could go another 30 minutes talking about Die Hard, so
yeah.
Moving quickly on.
I was going to say we could, but there aren't many Die Hard games. Die Hard Trilogy one.
Well, that's true.
Disappointment.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's a couple of others. There's Die Hard Arcade.
Yes, that's true.
Which is basically over here got known as Dynamite Cop.
Oh really?
Yeah, on the Dreamcast it was Dynamite Cop.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, because they couldn't get the license. It was only on the Sega Saturn. They had it on the Sega Saturn, but when they tried to do it again on the Dreamcast, they just couldn't.
Yeah, it's always weird how licensing works.
Yeah, it is.
But yes,
I think we've gone long enough.
We've gone long enough. So we'll do our housekeeping bit.
Yes, we shall
go over the reviews for this week, I think.
Yep.
So if you head on over to rapidreviewsuk.com, which is our website, you will see this week's reviews, which include Lost Ember, which looks beautiful, and I really want to play it.
It does look good.
It does. Then Farming Simulator 20 is...
Oh, that's my jam right there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's game of the year.
I'm all about that.
Absolutely. And
just give me that tractor and get some corn going. That's it. I'm done.
And then I'll be back in Texas in my mind. And I believe this is specifically the Switch version.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, we have a ViewSonic 32-inch curved gaming monitor.
Oh,
review.
very good. Yeah, and that was by Overlord Mike himself.
That's right. And I really... Okay, side note. I do like curved monitors for gaming. I don't like it for watching things.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. But anyway, we have a Dragon Quest 11S Rapid.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Vampire. Well, that's how I call it. It's probably vampire, but I say vampire.
Yeah, I say vampire, and I've heard so many podcasts make the joke about it.
Yeah, it's VAMPYR. It's out. This is the Switch version, but it is on Game Pass.
Yeah, it's on PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah. And then another one that I'm very, very interested in trying, which is Dead End Job.
Ooh.
Yeah. It just sounds fun.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and it looks really colorful, and I'm a sucker for colors. And then, I'll never say this right. Atelier Ryza. I'm so Texas.
Oh, I'm glad you said it, because I had no clue.
Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout.
Because that's a subtitle that's got a mouthful.
I bet that's a Japanese game.
What gives you that impression?
I don't know. But yeah, so that's over there. Oh, and then Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, which I love that title.
Yeah.
Why
does that remind me of the Eagles?
Because it actually is a Western-based one. So
yeah.
Not that the Eagles are country, but they have that kind of...
No, the Eagles suck.
I kind of like Hotel California.
That's amazing, but the rest of their back kind of suck.
I like Desperado, but I don't really like
Moving on.
New York Minute and all that stuff. But that was my parents' love song.
Let's move away from the Eagles.
But okay, so that is this week. Oh no! Oh, I left off two.
Ooh, how dare you?
Oh goodness, Fairbell, which is on the Switch.
Cool.
And the one that I'm dying to read, just because I want to see how he did it, Zumba, Burn It Up.
Who did that one?
It says Alex. I, for some reason, thought Mike did, but it says Alex.
Yes.
So
Alex. Yeah.
I want to read that. So
I'll be interested because because he has kids. I'm interested to see how that works for for all the family, basically.
Oh, that's so funny. So that's this week's reviews. Go catch them. And then as far as finding us, you can find us on Twitter at Rapid Reviews UK. Mm-hmm. Our podcast Twitter home, which is at RR Radio Pod.
Yep.
And what about you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm there most days, tweeting some nonsense or making some really, really, really bad jokes about lead in pencils to people.
Yes.
At Pete Beckett 1.
Yeah.
And where can they find you?
I am at Kiley Tegreet, which is KILEYTEHGREET, and I'm currently tweeting about autism like crazy.
Of course you are.
Yeah, it's just because I'm learning more and more.
Yeah, I do enjoy reading those because I don't know a lot about autism, so it's quite nice to actually read some things and take it into real world.
Exactly. I've told another friend that I kind of want to act as a liaison between the NDs, as we call ourselves, and the NTs, which would be neurodiverse being ND and neurotypical being NTs. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah, and then we have a new way of contacting us.
Yes, you may have noticed on the Twitter that we've started putting this up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, you go ahead.
So that is our email address. Ooh, email.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. Oh, it's so 1990s.
It really is.
But if you wanted to email us, and that is email us with anything, whether that be a good meme, a good question, or whatever, or feedback for the show, you can do so at podcast@rapidreviewsuk.com.
Woohoo! So that leaves one last thing.
Yes.
You should hit us with that game fact.
Which I really haven't prepared this week at all. But I'll see if I can pluck one out of nowhere.
Say, you have a list.
I will see if I can pluck a random one from nowhere. So, speaking of failed consoles like we did earlier with the Wii U, and the fact that it sold 13 million units worldwide. But did you know that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has now sold more copies than the Wii U itself?
That is wild. That is crazy.
Yeah. So Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has sold over 14 million units.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. We love it when you stop by. And we will catch everyone next week. So, bye.
Bye.